Wait, what were we talking about? So I'm gonna
So,
remember.
um, basically, we were talking about the state of Smash in esports, the
Yo.
kind of money we generate or don't generate, our value to orgs, different things like that. And I think people have a big misunderstanding of how that works.
So
What Smashers are worth, why orgs even look at us, all those kinds of things. So I felt it'd be good if we talked about all those different things that people have questions about. I had some of my own questions too. So
yeah, so like basically the word esports is just like a big misnomer, and I think people need to understand that. Um, like you would just assume it's like digital athletics, right? Like it's all about building the sport when in reality most of esports is just like a marketing project by like the marketing department of a game, right? So we're not really an industry, we're a secondary industry, right? So there's a primary industry, which is the gaming industry, and then the secondary industry is esports, right?
okay,
So most games are funded by the primary industry, right, which is the gaming industry. Smash is the closest thing since StarCraft Brood War of trying to be independent of that and trying to be a sport first and be separate from the primary gaming industry, right? And all that that entails. There's a lot of benefits from being in the primary industry and being like really attached to a developer. There's also some negatives, right? Like you lose a lot of control of your scene on a community level, right? So like we have the pros and cons, but naturally, the biggest negative and con of that is there's less money flowing into our scene, and it's much harder to get money flowing into our scene because we have less official involvement. So most Smash players are basically like just kind of when pro teams come and approach a Smash player, they're just kind of doing it for fun. They don't
yeah.
really expect a return on investment as much as they do with their other pro teams, which they find more avenues of making money for.
Now, do you think that there's some kind of sense that a team, well, because Smashers are cheap, so do you think that a team might feel like, well, Smashers are cheap and it kind of helps our org out just to have a Smasher on the team? Like it just brings a little more. Do you think it brings any kind of legitimacy to a team if they just have a Smasher? It taps into a whole other audience if they're cheap.
Sure. I mean, basically we're cheap, so that helps a lot on the whole. Now, the price have gone up a bit. Like as you know, like
Yeah.
players have been paid a lot more in the last year than they
Ooh,
ever have been
I
before.
know your boy is making demands, homie. Maybe that's why I'm teamless, but I've been making demands.
And that's great, right? Like before, it used to be comical, and now it's gotten better. And like the
Yeah,
top make legit
yeah.
money.
Before, if they gave us like $75 and a T-shirt, like we were in. That was it.
But like let's be clear, like when it comes to when they pitch a sponsor, like okay, sure, Leffen and Mango probably have a slide in the respective teams' decks, right?
Okay.
But some players might not, right? Like
Okay. So like,
they might legit like we our involvement in the pitch is sometimes like, and X team has 6 professional teams, including these 6 games,
yeah.
and the players not even listed, or like maybe a picture or two of the players shown in like a compilation video or something
Yeah.
with their accomplishments,
So
but
just
it's
to just to
not
be
it's
clear, you're talking about like a
yeah.
deck when they're talking to new potential sponsors and they're trying to gain their favor in supporting the team, and they say, okay, so here's our league team, and here's what we've done, and here are the players on the team, and here's their outreach, and then they just kind of
Mhm.
skip over Smash sometimes. I would assume.
A little bit. I mean, again, the biggest guys do have like a straight slide. Like Armada is the most valuable part of Alliance,
Oh,
right?
is he? Is
So,
that a fact?
I mean, what else do they have,
I
right?
oh, I oh, ooh, shit.
They have
Okay,
like
well,
a
I don't
okay,
know, but
they have
okay,
a mediocre to bad Dota team, right?
okay,
Like, so the Smash part is very valuable for Alliance, right?
okay.
Um, but for other teams,
Do they
maybe
have an
that's
Android
not.
slide?
Dude, yes, shout out to Android, man. Android's got value too, sure.
But do they have an Android slide?
Probably. They need it, dude. What else are they gonna put on their slides?
Okay.
You know? But like, let's say, the someone got, let's say like someone who's ranked 20 in Smash got picked up by Envious, right? Envious has teams across like 6 different esports, or by Optic, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of those esports are like very large esports.
Hmm.
That rank 20 Smasher is not making that deck, right? It's just not the biggest selling point. They want to keep it focused, and they don't often go out and look for Smash endemic sponsors because there are no Smash endemic sponsors. What I mean by endemic is like Asus, Razer, HyperX, like guys who are like really invested in the primary product, which is the gaming product. Like Asus wants to see more gaming monitors in the hands of gamers, right?
Uh huh.
HyperX wants to see more people use their peripherals and things like that, among the gaming community, right? We have some
Get a
use
grab.
cases like headsets and things like that,
Hugo Chan.
but
Everybody wants
often we're
Hugs to
not
win
the best
now.
selling point because first of all, our
He's a
game
favorite,
is
man.
16 years old, right?
Yeah.
So we don't
Very
have
old
a
game.
we don't have a large casual base to say, hey, you'll also tap into this, right? So when you say to someone like, awesome, sponsor this League of Legends player, right? What they see is, well, League of Legends has an install base of blah blah million people, right?
Uh huh.
So you kind of conflate in your marketing the value of esports and gaming, right? The two industries, right? Because you say the League of Legends players is not just as famous as the esport is famous, but it's as famous as League of Legends is famous, right? And a
Yeah.
lot of people like League of Legends, so League of Legends players in general will like your product, right?
Okay.
Whereas like Melee in particular doesn't have a casual base that
It's
we
all
can like.
it's all sport.
It's all sport. It is all sport, and because of that, our total like how many people on a unique level uh, watch or go to tournaments on a monthly basis, right? That is what we have. That's the number.
Millions.
Yeah, no. Um, that's the number we ultimately have to show up, and we're actually doing pretty well for ourselves for what we have, right?
Yeah.
Pretty good. But it's not the same as when they put like the total number of players of Overwatch in their deck or the total number of players of League of Legends in the deck. It just looks more impressive. Now, in my
Which
opinion,
is
that's just
annoying because doesn't when it comes to esports for Overwatch, it's kind of isn't it slightly underwhelming based on the player base of just the gaming side of it?
yeah, absolutely. See, that's the thing, right? But does the marketing exec at
Do
that
they care?
sponsor
Yeah.
do they know that? Do they know that?
Do they know
Right?
that,
Like,
or do they care that the esports side isn't that major, but the gaming base is huge?
yeah, they don't like when they hear Super Smash Brothers Melee, they'll think 16-year-old game. Who's playing this anymore? Wait, it's on a CRT. Like, my kid isn't playing that, right?
Uh huh.
League of Legends and Overwatch, maybe, right? And so they're like, oh, this thing is huge. A lot of people are playing it. This is the install base. Here's the number. And this guy is like a high level influencer in that game. I want to get on board, right? There's a difference. Even if a lot of people aren't watching or playing the esport, um, they don't know that, right? They don't like have the full metrics of an esports size at their disposal. What they see in front of them is, wow, there's a ton of League of Legends players in the world. I want to get on that marketing because I'm trying to sell mice or keyboards, right?
Right.
There's a difference there. So like we have naturally less to go on. Having said that, our potential is way higher. And
I do feel that way as well, and
so
I'm thinking other types of brands, right?
basically, our potential is the highest of any esport, in my opinion, on a sales perspective. Because if we ever get big, we will sell better than anything else. Why? Because we would be the only avenue which you can put your brand next to Pikachu, next to Mario, next to a family-friendly brand, right?
Mm-hmm.
So where it might be hard to convince a sponsor to put their brand next to Counter-Strike, a game where terrorists and counter-terrorists shoot each other and
Right.
has like red blood and stuff,
Yeah.
it's a little easier to say, oh, snap, we got to put our brand next to Pikachu?
Right.
Where in the world can you do that? Where in the world can you do that?
Or Brian from Dream Daddy.
Or sure,
Yeah,
sure.
you could do that as well.
Yeah, so I mean, I think a lot of people give our publisher, a hard time over how careful they are with their IP. But the reality is, it's extraordinarily valuable. It's arguably the most valuable IP in like the world, right? Like,
Yeah.
it's that and Disney are like the two that have like extraordinarily cultural relevance, right?
Yeah, and they're
And
both notoriously just like brutal about protecting their brand, right?
yeah, and there's a reason for that. It's because it's
Like
extraordinarily valuable.
if a
It's
person is
extraordinarily
if a
valuable.
Disney person is known to masturbate in their own house, like they'll just get kicked off of Disney. Like you can't do that. That kind of thing.
You're never gonna get hired. That's for sure.
Yeah, yeah, you're just you're,
They want to make sure you're safely off the Disney Channel before you do a wrecking ball video.
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
know,
exactly.
you're a safe distance away. You're a safe distance away. But it makes sense, dude. Like it makes so much sense. Like it's families trust the brand, and you have to keep their trust. And people grow up with the brands like Disney and Nintendo, and they get a large affinity like to their personal identity about those brands, and that's why they have great merch sales. Or if you go to a state fair, you're gonna see a Pokemon plushie somewhere. You're gonna see this stuff,
But
right?
can that ever happen with the idea that Nintendo would then have to trust our image alongside the images of Mario and
Yeah,
Pikachu?
exactly, right. And I
Right.
think that's a hard ask. It's a very hard ask.
Yeah.
Who knows? Maybe one day it'll happen.
Yeah. Can you
But
imagine Alex 19 pushing a Pikachu product?
yeah, it's very hard to
Yeah.
imagine,
Along with
right?
weed maps at the same time. I don't know if that's going to work.
Right, right. You don't say.
No, yeah, I
Um,
don't. I don't think they go together. Maybe like coughing or wheezing.
you can do coughing or wheezing.
Yeah, maybe that'll work.
But you get the general idea that like it's a hard ask, but if in the dream world that
For the grab.
may or may never happen,
Hugo
the
Chan, everybody
potential I
wants Hook
think
to
is
win
the
now.
highest of all.
He's
Even
a
if
favorite, man.
I think even if we have like a tenth of the viewership in size, we'll probably outsell a lot of those other games in
Okay.
terms of sales.
And
Just
what do you?
because of just because our product is just so much more family friendly than and approachable for a marketing executive than freaking League of Legends and Dota, which are very like obtuse games.
I agree with that, but what do you think about our just knowing? Because you're familiar with the personalities in other games. How do you feel that we stack up in our ability to market products as people? As
We're way better overall. I mean, I'd say on the whole we're better. Like I think there's obviously some people who aren't as good as There's some standout cases
For the
in other
grab.
games who are extremely good in personal
Hugo
personalities.
Chan,
But
everybody wants Hook to win now.
we're really good at that. Like
He's a favorite,
we're
man.
great at shilling, and promoting products and all that. I don't think personality is our fault,
okay,
or our stopper. It's more that like we don't have we are not leaning on a much larger industry to prop ourselves up,
yeah.
right?
Well,
We
so
are
then let
doing
me ask you, why is Smash 4 not in the same boat as these other? Like that's a new IP, or that's a new game. That's a game that's popular. Does that not have the same kind of effect as something like Overwatch at
Well,
its
first
peak
of all,
popularity?
is it a new game? We're at like year
I
three
mean,
now,
well,
right?
it when it was, at least.
Well, sure, but at the same time, it was still when you put your brand next to, you know, something that's on like Turner Sports. It's very different than when you put your name against the event that like the homie Joe guy's doing. Like someone in their mid 20s is hosting an event with people coming over. Now people still end up watching it a lot, and it's like a good event, but it's just a different expectation, right? Like I wouldn't conflate the two. We are not like we are glass ceilinged in the sense that we can't do that much because we have so little money. But I wouldn't assume that if we ever got money, uh, we are anything we're doing right now is a show of that potential, right? If we ever got money, I think we would do very well. But
Okay.
we are. I
So
don't see a
you,
path to that right now. The path to that seems very impossible.
yeah, I remember when we spoke once in person, and I said I feel like we hit a ceiling, and you said something along the lines of, "We've been jamming our head on this ceiling like nonstop, like for a while now. Like we are hurting ourselves on this ceiling, like breaking our necks on this ceiling."
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
you do see the potential to go past it.
Sure. It's just we have to find the right path for it, and we have to make
Do you
sure
have
we.
ideas?
I got tons of ideas, and I'm
You are an
hoping,
idea man.
dude. I'm the idea man.
You
I
really
hope a
are.
lot of them. I hope that
Execution
we.
man, I don't know, but you are the idea man.
I'm not trying to be the execution man. Uh, but yeah, no, I think that it's not all gloom and doom. And honestly, the truth is, if we stay at where we're at right now, I think myself in '08 would be like, what are you complaining about, right? Like,
Yeah.
imagine a world we literally just stay the same size for like 6 years.
Uh-huh.
Like, is that really altogether too bad? I don't know,
It
right?
wouldn't. It wouldn't be great. I would like to continue seeing growth for sure.
No, me too. Obviously, that's like my primary
Not just
interest.
because growth is nice, but because I think that as a community we probably deserve it. We just need to figure out the right way to go about it. If you're telling me
Yeah.
that some schmuck in a corporate building just doesn't understand why we're valuable at all, then I feel like we need to try to help them understand why we're valuable and then make something happen for us.
Um,
Not that
I
easy,
think
but I
I
mean
think it,
that's
I
what I
think it's
think
I
we
think
should
it's a
aim
little
for.
more complicated than that. I
Yeah, of
think
course.
that I think basically the we've done a great job at showing our value to for team sponsorships. Like what the amount of money on a yearly basis that goes into players right now is like crazy, and it's only growing. Right? It's the only hiccup in the last like 3 4 months has been because of Overwatch League and LCS, which franchising, which don't have much control over. Right?
They're fucking
So
us, dude.
yeah, it's that we don't have control over that. That's not really our fault. But if you talk about like the last 2 years, 2 3 years, and how like hands-on we've been with trying to get that to be better and like making relationships there, no, absolutely, we're killing it. Like the growth in player pay has so much, and we've tried to argue our value over time, right? And we've succeeded, I think, in growing that. Similarly, like in the last year, no one's paying attention to it, but commentator pay has actually start to exist,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
So that's good, right? So we've been working our way into to saying our value, and things are improving. The thing that we haven't been able to explain its value in an accurate sense is the value of our grassroots broadcasts and our event broadcasts, and that's where we're hurting the most.
How,
And
how do we communicate that kind of value?
I don't think it's about communicating the value. I don't think that's the primary problem right now. I think it is very difficult to sign on board to being on with what's frankly a pretty amateur broadcast.
Uh huh.
We'd have to like up our game a lot, but we don't have the money to up our game. So it's like a weird recursive problem, right? Maybe TLs need to take investors,
Uh huh.
and we can solve it that way. But the hard part is it when you're when you don't have official like some of these events don't have official licensing from the publisher, right?
Uh huh.
So that naturally stops a lot of larger companies from wanting to come in, right? Like if you're a major company and you're saying, wait a second, this is not a legit event, right?
Okay.
That stops conversations on its own. So there's a lot of problems with our event sponsorship model. But I think in terms of teams and players, we've gotten way better. Like I don't think that's as bad.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, hopefully that'll pick up, and then hopefully with that kind of thing changing, then I see the whole sponsorship situation changing as well, right? Because right now I also feel like while salaries are going up, it's kind of hit somewhat of a limit, with the exception of people like Mango maybe, and like Leffen and Hungrybox.
Yeah, I mean, if I think for the event side stuff, I try to propose ideas to other people on how we could fix it. Like, I mean, I've been screaming at Gimmer, for example, for a long time for he should just start buying content, right? If he just took on investors and he started like going out there and saying, no, you guys can produce the stream, but I want to buy the rights to put it on my channel, and then he started selling against the package, I think we would all do a lot better, right?
Yeah.
That's like one example. A lot of people could do that, right? Imagine if, like, how hard would it be for Esports Arena, who's been throwing around money, to have every Smash tournament ever on their stream, on their channel, right? Not very hard, because it doesn't cost, like, Smash tournaments have so little money that if you start paying them for it, they'd be like, sure, right?
You think so? I think a lot of wasn't it like the big trend to build your own stream? That's why people like VG Bootcamp could no longer sustain their old model, which was to go to every single tournament and stream their event for them. People wanted to build their own streams, so they stopped paying. Well, they were paying for Gimmer, I guess, right? So you're
Yeah, but
saying
what
if
happens
someone
is, I
like
mean,
Gimmer paid them.
everyone should, instead of thinking about building simply their own brand, everyone should be thinking about how to build their company, right?
Okay.
And that could be white label if it needs to be. So if you're a production company out somewhere and you want to do Smash tournaments, that's great, but it doesn't necessarily mean you have to do it on your channel, right? As long as you get paid, who cares?
Yeah.
Ultimately, like the reason why people want to grow their channel is so that they get paid, right? So they get paid more
Yeah.
from ad revenue and stuff. And so if they get paid by Gimmer, who puts it on his channel, then what's the difference? I don't think it is a difference. In fact, it's much more likely that they would make more money by uniting and putting it on one consolidated channel than it is by everyone trying to start from scratch over and over again.
So you think that's a move that'll get everything more centralized?
I think it'll help a little bit. It's not like the full. The ultimate problem of our glass ceiling is that we don't have licensing rights or IP rights over like anything.
Yeah.
Right? So we have a large problem to deal with there, right? And that's our major problem. And like, there's no world where we all start making millions of dollars off someone else's IP and like are fine, right? Like, what business do you know that someone builds on top, like that's a third party builds on top of someone else's IP, right? Like, what if we become NFL size? We're making billions of dollars off someone else's IP. Is that gonna be okay? Like,
Yeah.
is that okay? I'm gonna say I doubt it. We'd run into problems, right? And I think that's the problem, the glass ceiling I'm really referring to.
Mm.
Right? Like, ultimately, there has to be some level of involvement if we're going to move past the ceiling. But what we really want to make sure of is that our soul is kept in the process. But we don't know how to, like, it's not really an option right now. So that's the largest problem.
Do you see it becoming an option sometime within the next year, 2 years,
I don't know.
through the workings that you and other people have been doing? Because I know you guys work on this kind of thing, right?
I always try to make ways to grow the scene. It's very hard to know where any of this will go, or if we'll ever find progress, or maybe again we'll stay the same size forever. We'll see, but those are the problems as they're laid out.
Okay.
Or the grab. Hugo Chan. Everybody
Cool,
wants
man.
Hugs to win now.
That was a good talk.
He's a favorite, man.
I think that's pretty much all common knowledge stuff. We have problems. We don't have very much money. We're finding a way to grow because we're scrappy.
Yeah, we're very
but
scrappy.
We're so scrappy, bro.
Yeah.
So I think we have a good chance.
And I
We
think
have
based
enough-
on
yeah.
what we've gone through, we already have the feeling that we're allowed to believe in our own success through any kind of obstacle. So I don't see us dying out at any point because we're just, like you said, we're scrappy. We've already seen when we're supposed to fail and we don't. It's just a matter of doing it right, and I think we have enough smart people that care to make it work out. But it's definitely
Yeah.
a big challenge, and it's definitely probably completely unprecedented. But we haven't done something unprecedented. We have done unprecedented things before. So
Like I said, we're kind of the only esport left right now, right? As in, we're a sport first,
yeah,
and we're marketing second, right? That doesn't really exist within the industry, and the last time it existed was like Street Fighter before Capcom Pro Tour, and even before that, Brood War before Blizzard came in and shut it all down, right?
yeah,
So we're in uncharted waters. There's not much data for like where we should move forward. It's really exciting and it's cool to build, and we're all trying to, make it possible. But we're pretty close to sustainability, right? All of this could be solved with like small investor money, right? Like we're all going slightly negative, right? It's not that much money to make us all like be above water that we're talking about, right? How much money are TOs losing, right? Sometimes it's like $10,000, $20,000, right? In a personal sense, that's a lot of money. In the grand scheme of the universe and like the economy, that's like no money, right? And the total amount of money that TOs are losing across the board for the year is probably less than like 150K among them all, right? And similarly, like for players to get more of them sustainable, how much money would that even cost, right? Like, and a few streamers, like our total net negative of the key people we want to keep above board is not that much money. So we're so close to sustainability. We are really close. And meanwhile, we're seeing like plenty of other marketing activations which go millions and millions in the red, right? And are justified because they're marketing. So
Yeah.
we're closer than anyone's ever been. It doesn't look like we're ahead of them, but in my opinion, we're actually ahead of them in the sense that we're building it right. If
yeah.
our
We're
ga-
not just hella operating in the red the whole time.
Yeah, we're not. If our game sales go down, we don't go down,
Yeah.
right? Like if people stop buying hats on Dota 2, it doesn't hit us, right? Like it
Right.
doesn't do anything for us, right? And that's pretty nice.
Yeah. Okay.
So sick,
That's
man.
that's good, man. That's like a bunch of crap that I had no idea about.
Yeah. So
Bigger
we'll,
industry
we'll,
stuff.
we'll be fine, man, dude. We got a lot of smart people, a lot of people caring, and
So, I shouldn't need to go on the job hunt again.
no, I think you'll be fine. You're gonna find one too. Dude, you have to realize
Whew.
like
All right, we're good, we're good.
the Overwatch and LCS stuff is all like happening now. So it's just
Okay.
a really hard time where a lot of teams don't know what they're doing with their money because there's just so much like outstanding stuff that they're thinking about
Yeah,
right now.
that's the vibe I've been getting right now. It's just a lot of waiting because there's other priorities that are much bigger than Smash. And it's
Yeah,
not that they don't want to invest in us, because obviously they sought us out, the free agents of Smash, to discuss the potential of joining their team. But in the end, they got to focus on other games and other investments right now before they even begin to worry about Smash. So it takes a while.
takes a while. A lot of that stuff will be over by the end of like in a few months.
Yeah, when do
A
you
lot of
see it
stuff is
ending?
happening now.
Before 2018?
Well, I mean, Overwatch League is supposed to start soon, so we'll see. And LCS franchising stuff is supposed to be for next year, right? So it won't last that long, and they'll sign those contracts and make those deals,
Wait,
in
so
the
with
next few months.
LCS franchising, they're franchising cities, or what are they doing? What do you mean?
They're franchising teams into the ecosystem. They made this big announcement. I'd check it out if I were you guys.
Oh yeah, I did.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah,
Wait, don't they
basically they're
already have
like
teams? Or you're talking like regional teams?
well, basically before if you were in the LCS, you can get kicked out. Like by
Right.
doing too poorly. You
Right.
could if your team is just losing, you go to this thing called relegation.
Yeah.
And now they're saying, how about no? There's no kicking people out. You're a part of the league in perpetuity, in a sense, by being a franchise.
Okay. Well,
So,
how would a new team join in? Is that no longer possible? Going to be possible?
well, in order to be a part of the franchising in the first place, you have to pay a bunch of money.
You have to
So to
what?
be you have to pay
Oh,
a bunch of money to be a franchise in the first place. Similar thing that Overwatch did, right?
yeah.
So that's the idea. Maybe they do expansion teams
So the era
or
of
whatever.
the startup team who ends up competing and making it big is not going to be a thing anymore. You have to have the
Less
money to
so. I
start
mean,
up.
it's less so, and I mean, it's not like League is only esport, and Overwatch definitely isn't.
Yeah.
But it's going to affect the overall marketplace a lot, right?
Okay.
So
Which will not be related to Smash in any kind of way, because we're nowhere. I mean, we
I
don't even
mean,
have the potential to do that kind of thing.
most of our sponsorships have nothing to do with Smash, period, right?
Yeah.
Like those guys are not raising investor rounds. Like Liquid didn't raise investor rounds because they have Hungry Box. With all due respect to Hungry Box,
Yeah.
right?
Much less
Um,
chilling.
Yeah. So much less chillin', or Chew for that matter, or Karen, I guess.
Or can.
Uh,
Yeah.
so yeah, they have a lot to consider. So it's a very volatile market right now.
Now, do you think our success depends on theirs?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
it
if the
does.
Overwatch League starts and it tanks, because they're charging people fucking $20 million to start a franchise,
It will 100% affect us. Yes.
okay, like the teams will just be broke, and they won't think, oh, how do we save this? Let's get a Smasher. Let's get Hugs on board. We just lost $20 million. Let's get Hugs on board. That's not gonna happen.
I have a feeling that is not what they're going to think. No.
Okay, all right.
I think they're going to lose $20 million and be like, oh crap. I think that's it for us, dude.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's always going to affect the whole industry. Like the teams as like a paradigm in esports is kind of crazy as it is, right? Like the way esports teams work is so different than traditional sports teams. That's kind of crazy. It's mostly like scrappy guys who are basically decide to become sales agents slash MCNs for popular people, right?
MCMs,
MCNs.
Monday Crush, Man
Mo-
Crush
mo-
Monday.
No, multi-channel networks.
Oh, that's a way
right?
different thing. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, it's like they're trying to lever they're trying to be sales agents for people, right? Like,
Okay.
and since they are dealing with an inexperienced populace, like esports personalities are, they're able to bunch them all up and work out to sell against them. But
Right.
like the core idea of an esports team kind of doesn't make sense, right? Like it doesn't like it's you're mixing a bunch of games together. We just said esports is primarily marketing, and yet if you're League of Legends and you're spreading the Cloud9 brand,
I was
great,
running
you're spreading
through
the
the
Cloud9
six
brand.
with my woes.
Oh,
You know
wait,
how
one
that shit
second,
go.
Andrew. My
You know how that shit
notification.
go.
I might turn that off right now. Yo,
Yeah.
thank you for the donation. But go ahead.
Thanks.
Sorry.
Thank you. So if you're League of Legends and you're spreading the Cloud9 brand, that's fantastic. But you're also Cloud9's also in Dota, so they're going to be in Dota too. You know what I mean? Like
Okay.
so, that Dota is the primary competitor to League of Legends as a product, and so you're making a marketing activation which spreads Cloud9 as a brand, which also is in Dota, right? So you're
Yeah.
you're helping a brand that's supporting your competitor, right? Like it's kind of
It's hella weird. Yeah.
it's
Never thought
hella
about it
weird,
like that.
and not only that, but like let's say you want to make event sponsorships, right? This is less of a big deal because again, esports is marketing, so like people like Riot and Valve don't really look for sponsors. They kind of just are okay with taking the loss from the event. But let's say you're a CS:GO tournament, right? And you get Monster Energy to be your sponsor, right? But then there are players from pro teams who are sponsored by Red Bull, right?
Right.
And so your tournament is sponsored by Monster, and yet there's people on stage with like Red Bull logos,
Yeah.
right? Like all of it is super weird and only happening because there's just these scrappy guys who are trying to find workarounds to like um, monetize against player personalities, right?
And that'll eventually all change. Like it has to.
Maybe, right? Like depends. Maybe it doesn't have to because most of these most of the industry is propped by the gaming industry, right? So if let's say if Riot, Valve, whatever, Blizzard don't really care about profiting off of sponsorship sales, then the only way to get sponsors into, the only way for sponsors to get into the scene is by making deals with teams, right? Because look at
Right.
it, you're watching the international, you're watching the World. Do you see any sponsor logos from the event?
I've never seen
No.
World, so I don't know. But what's the answer?
They had a small Coca-Cola thing a while back, but in general, they don't they don't really go out there and try to get that much sponsorship, right?
Right.
So they only really care about doing it and how it affects game sales and how it affects the overall marketing of their game, right?
Right.
So they don't really care about the little chump change that a sponsor.
From Monster or Coca Cola or whatever.
Yeah, they're like, fuck it. We're not here to market Coca-Cola.
We're here to sell
market
the game.
We're here to market League of Legends, right?
Yeah.
So if you're Coca-Cola, you're like, okay, how do I get in? This is something people are watching. I want to get in and get my product in. So you go through a team.
Yeah.
That's the primary use, right? If these other games and publishers start actually caring about making money off their events, by the way, all this stuff sounds so hilarious on a Smash Bros. Perspective, right? Because like we care very much about making money on our events because that's the only way we exist.
Yeah.
But they genuinely don't, right? They'll lose $1 million and like not blink.
Yeah.
So the only way for those guys to get in is by going through the teams, right? And so that's how that works. The teams wouldn't be getting those type of sponsorships if the publishers cared that much about selling against their events in the first place, right?
Oh, okay. Because then all the money would be going toward the event and not the
Yeah.
teams at all.
It's way better to get your logo on the event than it is to get like as a pixel on someone's jersey, right? Like,
Yeah.
why would you want that? Why, like, you only want it because it's your only way in. And so that money, which is the workaround money to get in the first place, is the money that then trickles down to us.
I see.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Well, then how does like a thing? How does something like NASCAR work then? Isn't that there's or does NASCAR have the event sponsored and the individual car sponsored as well?
Yeah, NASCAR loves it all. They're just saying, fuck it.
They're
The
just
team gets that
we need to do
you've seen those
that.
cars, dude. They're like, fuck it, man. Make it rain. Everyone gets paid. So like maybe that's where esports goes. Maybe it's like the holistic thing. Maybe every segment makes money. That's not like common in other sports. Like in other sports, sometimes like if the player wears a logo, the league is like, what? You can't do that. we have partners that we sell against, right?
Yeah.
But maybe we'll end up being more like NASCAR, right? Where there's a lot of that. Having said that, I mean I don't work in NASCAR. I don't know how those work. Maybe NASCAR has like a blacklist of things you can't do, right? Let's say if NASCAR's premier sponsor is McDonald's, they're saying like, dude, none of you guys can take Burger King, right?
Right.
Or something like that. And so maybe the teams work under that constraint. The weird thing is esports can't work under that constraint because it's multi-game. So no event organizer can just say, you guys can't work with X. So,
Because it's multi-game.
yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Dude, this is all super insightful. I had no idea about most of this.
Yeah, dude.
I just
tried.
thought, well, I get a lot of retweets sometimes, so
People are into it.
give
dude.
me money.
Give me money. I get
Yeah.
retweets. That's how
Yeah.
it works.
That's how it should work, but I guess
Dude, 2017 is just so weird. Like,
it
there's
sounds
so many,
sounds
so
very
many-
young.
dude, so many celebrities, so many people who supposedly have like a lot of fame, and then you actually look at like how much money they make, and it's like nothing. Like, so how many Instagram people have like hella followers, like millions of followers, and you actually look into it, you're like, damn, they make like no money.
Oh, is it not? I thought it was pretty decent money.
Well, I mean, Instagram itself doesn't monetize that well, but they usually get like sponsored placement. Like they're like, hey, I'm holding up like an energy drink,
Right.
and I'm in
photo
the gym, and I got like the candid shot. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And they try to do that, but like,
Well, then
they're
why do
hustling.
people try to be Instagram models then if there's no money? They love the work?
I think
They have
I
a
think
passion
they
for
love
it?
they love the attention, dude.
Yeah, they have
But
selfie passion? I don't
yeah,
know.
but I mean, the biggest ones do make money off that, and there is some ad revenue, but like the point is it's not a direct correlation. Like you could have 400K followers and be monetizing so much better than someone with 2 million, right? If you're just smart about how you're doing it.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
yeah.
Well, maybe that's what I need to do then to push this whole sponsorship thing.
Yeah, maybe. There's definitely some players in Smash who have far less following, worse results, and make more money than people above them. So, just because they work,
Alex 19.
they're able to work out a deal, and that's nice.
No, they're doing great. They're doing a lot of things right for sure.
I'm a plot.
Then you got Mewtwo King posting about his fucking dream 7 times a week. So
yeah, there's that.
Then there's that, yeah.
Says you can charge 1 to 6K per post. There's a story about someone with 8 million followers just by being hot. They made so much money, bro. Just because there's one story about someone who was super successful in monetizing their platform doesn't mean everyone with a similar amount of following is able to do the same, right? Like that's the you gotta understand, right? Like imagine a world where the best esports contract is leaked, right? Like Faker's salary was leaked once, right? And it
Oh,
was
was
like
it?
absurd.
it was
It was
absurd.
absurd.
What was it?
I don't remember. Someone talk about it. Someone find it. But that doesn't mean everyone's getting Faker money. And there's a lot of people who are not to his level of fame, but they're also really popular. Doesn't mean the whole thing is profitable, right? Similarly, I think someone who has like 100K followers is actually pretty well known, right? But is that person making money? What is the scale, right? Knowing the whole thing is important. But so yeah, there's just like you see tons of YouTube content creators, all that, or like people at different levels who are hustling a little differently. So yeah, people say it's Google says 2.5 million. So
2.5 million salary?
yeah, but that's a leak. Who knows if that's real? I have no idea.
Okay.
But does that mean every league player is making 2.5 mil?
Absolutely not.
Does that mean they're all doing amazing?
Probably not.
Yeah,
Feel
so
they're
it
doing
doesn't
better
mean-
than most Smashers though. But
I would guarantee that, yes. They're doing a little bit better.
yeah.
A little bit better. Just a
Which
little bit better.
which I don't know, it kind of upsets me because I feel like I don't know, maybe I'm biased, but I do feel like Smash personalities have just a ton of potential to do more.
No, absolutely. Like the it's. I think that Smash has a lot of potential. But if we have our own problems, I think every esport has its own problems, right? Like you look across the board, there's always like,
Yeah, I guess yeah, League is pretty brutal.
I mean, they
You
have to
could
deal with
lose it all
patches, man.
pretty quickly.
They have patches all the time.
Mm-hmm.
People like go in and out of the game all the time. Like it's really hard to stay like on a pro team and be consistent. Like a lot of pro careers are literally like a year long, 2 years
Mm-hmm.
long.
Yep.
They have to deal with, Riot is the only TO, so that means what they say goes. They
Yep.
tend to do a pretty good job, but there's obviously a lot of criticism.
Yep.
And so there's a ton of things, right, that they have to deal with that we don't see in their shoes. Our problem is lack of money, obviously,
Yes.
right?
Mm-hmm.
It is our biggest problem. But that doesn't mean we have a lot of good stuff that we should be proud of. Like
Yeah.
a lot of we have a lot of amazing stuff that we should be proud of, right? That I think is really good, and I think money is usually the easiest thing to fix over time. Like all that stuff has been getting better.
So there's a chance we might be the most sustainable, biggest esport.
I would say you put a lot of these games in a row and you ask me like who's alive in 10 years, and you put us next to them, and I'm almost certain we're going to be alive, right?
Right.
And I'm not so sure about the rest.
Okay.
So that's a big deal.
Overwatch.
That's a big deal,
Yeah.
right?
That's huge. Okay. Dude, thank you for the talk. Do you have any other thoughts or anything you want to add to it before we wrap it up? I don't want to take up too much of your time. And I'm
Nothing,
gonna
man.
keep streaming.
I think like, obviously the streams watching this, people on YouTube might be watching it. The biggest takeaway I take if I was, somewhere in the community for this is that our culture and the reason why we've succeeded is that we have a culture where someone makes a complaint and our immediate response is, okay, bro, why don't you just do it yourself? Why don't you just host a tournament? Why don't you just commentate if you don't like commentary? Why don't you just if you don't think any of the Dr. Marios are good, why don't you just play Doc and win tournaments?
Wait, you're saying this is what we do?
I'm saying this part of our culture is huge. It's very important.
Okay.
And that is why we succeed, right? Whereas in many other environments, like when let's say Riot does something wrong, people just complain in a vacuum. That's it. They don't do anything to fix it. Their best recourse is, okay, I don't like League of Legends now. I'm going to probably start playing Dota, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you're in your scene and you ever see that, like you see that mentality pervade where people are just complaining, not doing anything about it, make sure to keep that culture alive because it's what drives us. What drives us is our do it yourself attitude of we'll do it ourselves. We're grassroots. We'll make it happen, right? We don't give up. We are scrappy. It is so important, right? It's so important. And so anytime you see a problem and you look at it, like there was this kid who approached me at Gomlin who was like, "Hey, Blue, I have this great idea. I think there should be like a Melee yearbook with like all the best moments in Melee, and I think it'd be really cool if it was like a compendium tool and like people sold it alongside tournaments and all that stuff." And I was like, "Cool, man, you should just do it." And he was like, "Wait, what?" And I was like, "Yeah, you should just do it. Why don't you just take the best moments of the year, make put it together, and then give it to TOs, and they'll probably sell it on their tournament pages on Smash EG."
Uh-huh.
And he was like, "Oh, I don't know. I didn't know I could do that." And I was like, "Of course you can." that's
That
who
actually
we are,
would be a
bro.
pretty good idea. That would,
pretty cool.
that would sell, and then people could get that signed at tournaments and things. That would be pretty dope.
Yeah, if there was art on it, like just commission some artists, make it happen, and it'd be kind of cool. Well, whatever. If it doesn't work out, it was your little project, and you put your passion into it. The worst thing you do is think that someone else is going to do it, or like it's this other guy's job. No. In terms of our community leadership in Smash, our job is to just facilitate other people doing really good work, right? Like we just want to get out of the way and let the community do its work. It's not like the leadership in other scenes, which is like, we're using Riot as an example a lot, but they would want to do it themselves, right? In our
Yeah.
scene, we're just trying to make hands shake, right? If you don't know an artist for your yearbook scrapbook project, I can show you a few artists I like, right?
Yeah.
But I would want you to do yourself because you can. That's the point. I just want to empower you to do it, right? And that's like throughout the whole seed. So if you're listening to this and you're thinking, damn, okay, Smash has got all these problems. There's a lot of interesting things that I think I could do to help fix it. I've got this idea or that idea. Just do it, dude. Just do it. We'll probably help you. We'll probably help you.
Yeah.
Like we want to see the scene grow as much as you do. So just do it, and you'll find that Smash makes it easy for you to come in.
Ah,
Yeah.
that's pretty zen, dude. Never thought
Yeah.
about that. Yeah. Okay. Cool,
All
man.
right, anyway.
Well, what's up?
Yeah, I got nothing else.
Okay. Cool, dude. Thank you for the time. Appreciate the insight. I don't think have you talked about this before anywhere?
I mean, this is like all I talk about.
No, I mean
I
like
talk
on
about-
stream, like on the commentator's curse or whatever.
Yeah, occasionally. I mean, this is just regular,
Just regular
No,
blur
this is-
thoughts.
just some blur thoughts, dude. I drop insight all the time. What are you talking about? This is not a Hugs exclusive, if that's what you're asking.
No, I just want to know if the people here possibly listening to it for the first time, or they might have heard it somewhere else.
I don't.
It's the first time I've heard most of this.
I've got so much up here in this noggin that like.
Oh, I know you do, dude. That's
There's,
that's definitely a blur quality that I admire. The work ethic, not so much, dude. But the
Oh, okay.
the-
Thank you.
the
Thank you.
the ideas, I respect that, dude. Big ideas.
I go to. Never mind. You make it sound like I don't work hard.
I just, I've heard things, dude. I've heard things,
Wow.
and I've
wow,
seen.
Wow.
But you know that shouldn't be your role, man. You are a delegator and an idea man. That's what you should be doing,
Thank
in
you.
my opinion.
I agree that is my strength. I usually see the problem.
I don't ever want to
ideas,
see you in the
etc.
trenches again. Okay.
I don't want.
I want to
the
see
Hilton
you
corner.
on the throne, delegating ideas. That's it.
Yeah. Wow.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
Thank you for the advice, Hugo.
Yeah, for sure, dude.